Hello and welcome to Touching Grass, the podcast in which New World staff writer Lucy Reed and I reveal just how much time we spend online and just how much that is rotting our brains, so that you, dear listener, can learn from our mistakes. I'm James Ball, political editor of the New World magazine, and in this, our 15th episode, I promise you're going to see just how much time I spend on the internet. But first, Lucy, when I was at about 11 o'clock on Saturday night, because that's how I spend my weekends, sending you the script, you revealed something quite shocking. You revealed you were out in a pub on a Saturday night.
I know. I don't.
I
I'm
heard Gen Z didn't do that. I thought you guys were meant to be squares and we were meant to be the big boozers.
exactly. No, you're meant to be the big boozers. Actually, no. Millennials are this sort of like craft beer, exposed brick, menu on a chalkboard,
Oh yeah,
artisanal.
exactly.
Yeah.
All of that crap. We lap that up.
I'm actually part of a group chat called Dead Pubs, which are dedicated to visiting the deadest flat roof pubs in London because we like them.
I
But
mean,
that is
that's a sign your crime rate is too low. When like
exactly.
younger hipsters like you will actively go to the dodgy pub, like that, you need more threats of violence to keep sort of the hipsters out,
What did
because
I?
those pubs don't want you in them.
I know, but it's the saddest thing is that there's also Instagram accounts that are also dedicated now to these dead pubs that post ones that we already go to, and we get really mad when people that look exactly like us stop showing up in droves. Like we're like, oh my God, I can't believe like five women with blonde hair and low-rise jeans just came in here. Like us all sitting here looking exactly the same.
I live very near one of those pubs, and we went once, like me and a mate, sort of just about as I moved into this flat, we sort of went there once, and they were perfectly nice, and like they served and all of this, but the fanciest beer was Amstel, and it was just very clear that we were in the wrong pub and they were waiting for us to leave. And they weren't sort of hostile or sort of menacing about it. And I really respected that. And what makes me sad is 6 or 7 years later, it's full of hipsters. And you can tell that the locals don't like them and don't want them there, but they just won't leave.
Well, I'm sorry that we like to have more than two drinks and we don't want them to cost £9 each. And
Yeah,
also, we like that they sell scampi fries and twiglets.
yeah. I mean, everyone loves it. No, I don't love a twiglet. They're horrible.
Boo.
Marmite's all right on pasta if you must, but
On pasta, Jesus
it's a
Christ.
really good pasta sauce. Mix it with an equal amount of butter, stir it through spaghetti.
Yeah, no, actually,
Great meal.
I
Like
might do that.
legit really works. So,
Anyway,
this is welcome to our cooking podcast, Touching Grass. So let's move on to the internet. That's quite enough real life. So then, Lucy, what morsels have you to proffer this week?
well, James, not much unites us Gen Z and millennials. You like avocado toast, we apparently like matcha. You are on Blue Sky, we are on X, but there are one set of people who transcend age and time. Harry Potter adults, of which I would have guessed there was a non-zero chance that you were one when I first met you.
Um, no, I mean, I was 11 when the first Harry Potter book came out, so I kind of aged out of them a bit. So like I read them, but it
Yeah.
was never. Also, I tend to think having an identity around books is more of a thing for women than for men.
But you definitely
Sorry.
know what Harry Potter house you are.
I worked at BuzzFeed. I've done at
You're a
least a
Slytherin. You
hundred
you you are
quizzes.
you are going to be one of those people who just picks all the edgy options so they get Slytherin.
I tended to get two-thirds Slytherin, one-third Ravenclaw, because I don't know if you know this, I'm also a nerd.
Oh, really?
Uh,
I couldn't tell.
and I mean, not to call you a basic bitch, but I bet you got Gryffindor.
I'm so offended by that. I'm genuinely, like, genuinely so offended by that. I got Ravenclaw every single time. How dare you? Right, no, that's the end of the podcast.
You're gonna send me your grades now just to
No
prove
one
this, aren't you?
gets Gryffindor. It's the one that, anyway, okay, I'm exposing myself far too much here.
I was gonna say someone's done those quizzes as much as I have, haven't they? At least I
Yes.
was getting paid when I
At least
did
I
them.
was a child.
I was
The
getting paid.
people who the books are meant for.
The books are meant for everyone, with some limits now that J.K. Rowling's politics have changed.
Well, that very helpfully leads me on to the point that Harry Potter discourse is literally always happening on the internet. It's one of the many constants of life, but it's cropped up again recently in a very funny way. You know what I'm referring to, don't you, James?
This is Dobby's grave, isn't
It's
it?
Dobby's grave. So, for those of you who don't know, which I'd be surprised, but whatever, Dobby is a character from the Harry Potter franchise who is a elf, not played by a human. He's like CGI, and he sacrifices himself in one of the later books slash films and dies, and it's, a very emotional scene in the final film.
You know who he's played by. You know who the voice actor is, don't you?
Is it Andy Serkis?
No.
Who is
No,
it?
it's like the one CGI guy not played by Andy Serkis who plays Gollum in Lord of the Rings, just for the listeners. It's Toby Jones.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay. Anyway,
Just sort of thought we should give a talented actor his due, just because you
fine.
you only think they're acting if they're in it, visually. You monster.
I think we're
Voice
supposed to
actors
say
are
the point that
people
it's
too.
it's the grave of a CGI character. Anyway, Harry Potter fans recently forced a 430 million pound sea cable to be relocated in order to avoid the grave of Dobby on a Welsh beach. And the funniest thing about this is that the new link now passes near like Bronze Age human burial remains. So actually is impinging on a real archaeological grave rather than the one of a fictional character. And it's just kind of spun into the discourse again, like Harry Potter adults, which are, as you can probably guess, adults who are still obsessed with Harry Potter. I think this is the first time there's been a joke, but it's the first time I think people have just agreed they've gone too far. What do you think, James?
So I in fact I do an occasional column about NIMBYs for a different publication. It's freelance life.
Splitter,
Uh,
splitter.
but so usually I really love kicking off about anyone who sets off on planning. Now this one was being told as a funny story by someone involved in it because basically this wasn't like the Bat Tunnel where it cost 100 million. Someone spotted pretty early on that this could be a headache and moved it a couple of feet so that it sort of was, 20 foot away instead of going through the site. And so it didn't cost very much and it didn't stop the thing being built. So for once, I'm not going to get too mad at the adults. I do love that Wales seems to have this thing for fictional graves that kind of go on for too long. So did you probably never watched Torchwood?
I know what it is though.
So it's like the edgy adult Doctor Who
Yeah.
spin-off that starred sort of Captain Jack Harkness, who was in a gay relationship. And in Torchwood was very patchy. Like it was very hit and miss, but it had a very, very good sort of limited run series called Children of Men, and it killed off half the cast in it. And one of the people who was killed off was Captain Jack's boyfriend, Yanto Jones. This show has been out for 20 years. If anyone complains about spoilers, it's been out for 20 years. And there has been a shrine to Yanto Jones that has been kept updated for 20 years since the program aired. And it was sort of full of like actual, tributes and newspaper clippings and stuff all stuck up onto these iron railings. And sort of the Port Authority there has just tolerated it and tolerated it. But that area is really run down and they've had to go, we really actually do need to, renovate this bit. And so they sort of had to promise that they will do a smaller and discreet Yanto Jones shrine in the new one so that no one kicked off at getting rid of like doing this long overdue renovation. But I have been to the Yanto shrine, only because I was passing through anyway, but I have been
Oh
to
yeah, of course. Um, well, don't really know how I segue from that, to be honest, James. I'm just going to
it.
be
So look, you
fun
asked me
fact.
about Welsh fictional graves. Turns out
I
I
asked
had
you about
something.
Harry Potter adults. Anyway, I would something that I think shows the tide of a changing internet is that once upon a time when you worked at BuzzFeed and I was a child, there was nothing more sacred on this planet other than maybe Grumpy Cat than Harry Potter. Like everything on the internet that was about Harry Potter was like very positive, I think, and it was just kind of a mass cultural phenomenon in the way that things like Game of Thrones and even something like Star Wars has never really reached the uniculture level. And I will admit, no longer a child anymore. Shocking.
Big if true.
Big if true. Haven't engaged with Harry Potter online for a while. But it was quite funny to me seeing this Dobby's Grave thing come back because of just how much attitudes have changed and like how the main post I saw about it, I have given you a link to one there. Um,
Right, let's have a look. So, when I am president of the world, I'm putting a landfill site on Dobby's grave.
and then if you go on the second one, this is like one account and it's like if you just search Dobby on it, just read a few of this guy's posts.
If you fatten him up a little and saute him with butter and herbs, he could make for a delicious dinner. Going to the UK so I can piss on the Dobby grave. Me and my friends would have killed Dobby with hammers, I can tell you that much. That is a callback to a classic tweet. That is a reference. I hate Dobby so much I wish I could tear him limb from limb. And throwing Dobby in the washing machine and watching him helplessly try and fight against the spin cycle. I like this person.
I like this person
I,
too.
I,
It's
I
very funny.
posted Dobby got what Dobby deserved on Blue Sky and got a very favourable reaction.
But this is what I'm saying. I re like 10 years ago, Dobby was like it was like a Jesus figure. Like he died for our sins. Like it was like, oh my God, Dobby. Like, and now I feel like it's just very funny to me that I don't think that this is the opinion of everyone. I just like that it's become more mainstream to become very, very dark humored about the fictional Harry Potter characters. But my question to you, James, is do you think this is just people aging up out of what, was a book series for children? Or do you think that the real, genuine political discourse about the series, and more importantly, its author, is what has triggered this sort of, I think, pendulum swing?
I think a bit of both. I think that over time, like these will become books that people's parents read and loved
Mhm.
instead of books that they loved. But they are aging quite well. Kids still enjoy them. You know, they're basically books about British boarding schools and they always do well. Like they sort of last for quite a while. So we're probably on the last Harry Potter generation before something else comes along because the 1990s setting sort of feels incredibly historic now. But I think I
Still,
think Harry Potter peaked before J.K. Rowling discourse peaked. Like
hmm.
I think you really started seeing a lot of read another book discourse start maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. Like Disney adults, I don't begrudge them their hobby, but I find them incredibly irritating.
Oh my
Like,
God. Where do they get the money from? Can I just ask?
yeah, like
How can they afford to go to Disney World this often?
when it stays in containment, it's fine, but I don't want to hear from Disney adults, and when I
No.
do, it irritates me. And Harry Potter adults is similar. Like I I find some of the politics thing of going, these books are crap is really stupid and snobbish. It's like, no, they sold millions, they caught on, they did an
They are good
incredibly
books.
successful
They
movie
are.
franchise. If you think they're crap, you don't understand the criteria for a good book. Like you just make yourself look like a div. So sorry, you aimed for elite, you didn't even hit mid-brow, you hit mid-wit. Like they're good books, but they're kids' books. They are not very deep. There's not much to them. There doesn't need to be. And
Yeah.
so, like, if if you sort of have to fixate on them so hard as an adult and make it a bit of your personality, it suggests that you haven't really evolved with it a bit. But on the other hand, let people like things. It's probably good they're not the uniculture now. But I do find it interesting, especially on Blue Sky, that if anyone wants to try and say that they like anything about Harry
Mhm.
Potter, it comes with about 4 pages of legal disclaimer, which sort of does
Exactly.
start to sound a bit insane.
Do you want to very briefly explain why people feel they need to set out a legal disclaimer when they say they like Harry Potter?
Yeah. So J.K. Rowling was always quite politically active, but it sort of used to be fairly uncontentious causes. She gave £1 million to the Labour Party more than a decade ago now. She's always supported women's causes and charities. She was just generally seen as a nice lady and a successful story. She became a billionaire and then went under 1 billion because she'd given so much to charity. And so this was always kind of commended. And initially, she expressed what were some very gentle reservations about trans rights. And it was very cautiously worded. It was sort of very sort of in there. And she got an incredibly negative reaction. It was sort of at the peak of
Hmm.
everyone recognizing trans rights, everyone sort of going, some of the claims people now say were never made were kind of there. You could actually get in trouble on the internet there for suggesting there were any biological differences between sexes, that women's sports were different. It was quite an odd cultural moment. And she'd sort of expressed some concerns around things like rape shelters, domestic violence shelters and rape crisis centres. And she got this really aggressive blowback, and she has subsequently radicalized on this issue. And what were once, I think, quite measured concerns, she now funds to a great extent lawsuits against trans clinics, against trans activists. She has funded many, many major organizations on this front. She has recently sort of set the lawyers on Amnesty International. And so it is really seen that the any funding of Harry Potter gives J.K. Rowling more money to fuel anti-trans causes, and it has really radicalized on this. And her tone is incredibly aggressive, and you do actually now see she's so powerful on this issue. She's so focused on this issue. You will see some gender critical activists when they think she won't see it say that even they think she's kind of radicalized and gone quite far on it. It has really polarized and gone really toxic. Is that a
Yeah,
fair summary? You can
I think
tell
that's
how
a very
scared I
fair.
am of this issue.
I think that's a very fair summary, and I will say that it's quite interesting to me looking at people who are like a little bit younger than myself, who were like still, during this, I would say peak cultural moment of the sort of trans rights movement, would have still been like a younger teen, so not totally involved in it, but like have since grown up, are now in their like early 20s, and are like very much politically involved. And they kind of started to become conscious after Rowling had already been cancelled and she'd really gone down the rabbit hole. And I was talking to one the other day and I was bringing up what the original thing that she said was. You're right that the domestic violence rape shelters was like the sort of flashpoint. But one of the first things that she said that got a lot of blowback was a charity that was originally about period poverty had changed their tagline from something about what young women and girls are just people who have periods, and she was like, "Oh, like this is
Yeah.
redundant." Um, and like I was talking about some of the original things it said, and this person was like, "That was what J.K. Rowling said that got her cancelled." And
Yeah.
it is very interesting to look back now and see because she caveats in a lot of these posts. She goes, "I love trans people. I have so many trans friends. I really care about them." That is not what she says now. That is
No,
not the
it was
tone of the post
so
now.
measured. It was so
Yeah.
measured, and she did right from the get-go get treated as if she was saying what she's saying now. Like,
Yeah.
I do think the toxicity of this has radicalized people quite firmly and
Yeah.
made what felt like it might have been a fixable situation into something deeply awful that I think only really benefits the really far right who sort of hate women and gay people and trans
On trans
people.
people.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah,
But
very.
it does mean Harry Potter fandom is quite complicated these days, doesn't it?
Exactly, it does. And so the new HBO series, which shouldn't exist because it's stupid, because it takes HBO like 3 years between series to make any TV show. So all the kids are going to be way too old between all the series. They are doing a reboot, and obviously some very big names are getting cast in it. And Nicholas Hoult, who is great, I love him, was just announced as playing one of the teachers in the second series. Oh
Yes.
my God. It's like it's been quite a funny meme on Twitter, on X in the last couple of weeks of people going, don't pick up the phone, like talking about actors that they like, British actors, and going, if you can hear me, don't pick up the phone. If your agent calls you, please don't take a part in the new Harry Potter series so we don't have to cancel you.
Well, it's like a funeral each time a new
Yeah,
actor comes in.
literally.
But I have to say, I think yeah, I everyone's got a right to boycott or not to participate in culture
Mhm.
that they don't want to. I think if you do things like call for boycotts or claim that your cultural power lies in them, you kind of have to be able to follow through. And unfortunately, the trans rights movement has failed on Harry Potter. Like they made a big thing about the video game that came
Mm.
out, and J.K. Rowling had very minimal involvement in this, and the game fell over itself to actually be quite accessible
Yeah.
and modern on gender. Your protagonist could have the pronouns that they wanted, any body type could go with any sort of stated gender, etc. There's a fairly prominent trans character in the game who is basically written as a Mary Sue. You
Hmm.
know, this is
Mhm.
not a complex 3D character. It's because a trans character kind of has to be wonderful. You know, where you're like, actually, this
Yeah.
is bad writing, but because they're trying to
It's a
be,
kid's video game. Like
yeah,
it's
they're trying to be performatively. And it's quite a good video game. I
yeah,
downloaded it
it's
and
quite
played.
good.
It's a
Yeah.
kid's game. It's really good.
Yeah.
But there was this big thing of we need to make this fail. We need to make this sort of go. It very easily cleared $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
Like the cultural power was not there for the trans movement to sort of boycott this, and I don't think it will be there for this HBO series,
I know because even
which
if
looks like it will be awful.
oh, I
But
agree. I think it looks shit. They haven't, the modern obsession with like making all TV shows and films look grey, has rendered what is literally supposed to be a children's book about a magical world look like a gritty ITV cop drama. It's bizarre. I think it's got some really good actors in it. I,
superb casting, like,
yeah,
but also
I'm,
8 hours of television for a very thin first book. And you know, like child actors who can work for about 4 hours, you know, like,
yeah.
and kids can't really act. Like, you kind of hope that the 10-year-olds you
No.
cast learn acting
God,
because you're making them
genuinely
do
looking
it.
back,
But
it was a miracle that the three kids that they cast when they were like 10 years old for the first Harry Potter film ended up being all right actors.
I mean,
Like,
by film five, they could act.
yeah, yeah. Oh, give them a bit more credit. Emma Watson was better than the other two a bit earlier on, I think.
Although the other two improved more, I think.
Yeah, but then well, we're starting from different place. Anyway,
Film three is pretty terrible because by then you actually need quite a lot of the kids acting, and
yeah.
they weren't yet up to it.
I
But
the,
they're a good series of movies. But
And I do
eight,
think that people will watch this Harry Potter series. They will, even if they hate it, because they'll watch it to slag it off. They'll watch it
oh,
and then flip it up and they'll put it on the internet to be like, oh my God, can you believe that they did this and they cut this and they made this character, blah, 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 blah. So it's like you're all going to fund it because you can't stop talking about
I
basically,
100% want to watch it, partly just
yeah.
because they've made Snape black. Like they've
Oh
cast
my
a
God, this is
superb
such,
actor,
yeah, yeah.
but a big thing in Snape's character by the time you get to book five and six is that Harry Potter's dad bullied him.
And Harry Potter is insanely mistrustful of Snape for like seemingly no reason the entire
Yeah. And
series.
it's
He's like, there's
such a
nothing off about that
huge plot point how constantly he thinks he's evil and how.
guy.
And you are going to have both, like Harry Potter's dad and all his friends who are supposed, like the surviving friends are like a
Yeah.
really big part of the plot and like you're supposed to root for. They're going to look like a lynch mob. And then Harry
They
Potter is
literally, yeah.
just going to look insanely racist
I mean, there is
because
a spoiler here. They literally at one point hang Snape upside down from a tree. I think no one has thought through the optics of this, and it's really bad. And I just think that it's I understand.
Black Dumbledore would have been clever.
Black Dumbledore would have been great. I don't think. Oh, also John Lithgow is Dumbledore, and like I think he's a fantastic
He
actor.
is also 80 now.
He's so old. They are not going to finish the series in 10 years. They finished the films in 10 years. They're not going to finish the series. John Lithgow is going to be like at least 90 by the time that they're going to have to do a Richard Harris. I
I
don't
mean,
wish that.
I hope not. We
I
hope you're in good
really
health,
hope
John
not.
Lithgow, if you're listening.
I
But
really hope not. But there's so many elements of this that just haven't been thought through. But regardless, this is this HBO series has provided discourse for like a year now, like ever since it was announced, with every single casting decision, with every single creative decision that they've made. And so when it comes out, obviously people are going to watch it because it's been so talked about. So this boycott that people are talking about is not going to happen. And I am not looking forward to the thousands of hours of X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Reddit discourse about every single episode. Why am I lying? Of course I'm looking forward to
yeah,
it. It's going
there's
to
got to
make
be
me,
like 3 hours long YouTube videos about
yeah.
like 5 minute scenes. It's got to be omni discourse. There will be no escaping Harry Potter.
To finish just on a sort of more light-hearted note, I guess. I mentioned at the beginning of this segment that, Harry Potter adults, which Miriam Margolyes very funny quote of hers. Do you know the quote where it's like people go up to her? She played Professor Sprout in the films and say, "Oh, I had a Harry Potter themed wedding," and she goes like, "Get over it. They're books for children. I dread to think what your wedding night was like if you had a Harry Potter themed wedding." I think she's a legend for that. But oh, sorry, yeah, Harry Potter adults are kind of constant, but I think there's two very distinct types between millennial and Gen Z um, of obsession with Harry Potter. And do you think you could kind of sum up what the millennial Harry Potter fans are like, James?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just fairly basic. I think it's people who wanted to go to boarding school and have kind of conflated that with Harry Potter. And so I mean, honestly, it's arrested development. It's just people constantly sort of referencing things back to that and wanting a bit of magic in the world. And yeah, I just
Yeah,
code it
it's
with being a bit basic and a bit irritating, but fine. Just get into Dungeons and Dragons like a real grown
yeah,
up.
it's not crazy. They probably have like a Deathly Hallows tattoo, and they definitely
There are
have
so
like
many Deathly Hallows
so many Deathly
tattoos.
Hallows tattoos, and they probably have robes of like their favorite house, and they've definitely been to like Harry Potter World and like had a
I mean,
bunch.
I go up to Oxford quite often. My partner lives there, and every Oxford college, like
Yeah,
anyone that had any Harry Potter scenes in it, you just
yeah,
constantly got adults posing in
yeah.
Harry Potter robes,
And
like
try going to Annick
so
Castle.
often.
Try literally. Oh my gosh, the amount of adults you see pushing children out of the way to like pretend they're flying on a broomstick. Anyway, but with Gen Z Harry Potter obsessives, it's a bit different. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. I'm intrigued.
Do you know what shift talk is?
I do not.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm not lying. You can look this up. Anyone listening, this is not like a niche thing that one person did that I'm making up. This was a whole movement. During lockdown, obviously, people genuinely got like really into like there was a real Harry Potter like resurgence. I don't know why, amongst sort of like older teens, and people really got into this concept of shifting. And shifting, genuinely, people went through like FBI documents to try and prove it was real. Is that you can shift to another dimension
Of
if
course, yeah.
like it's essentially like if you try and trick yourself into like lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
And they would like write scripts out for themselves and they would say, "Oh, you need to do this every night and it can't be on a full stomach and like blah blah blah." And there was whole TikTok guides on like how to do this thing. And the funny thing is like even if it was real, can you imagine like you can shift to another dimension, you can shift in the reality. The fact that 90% of the people who could do this allegedly were choosing to go and be a student at Hogwarts
I
as that
mean,
like
where the fatality rate is incredibly high. Like
exactly.
so many children get murdered by fascists in
And
those books.
it was so that they could just basically date the characters from the Harry Potter series. I'm not joking. It would be like so that they could have Draco Malfoy be their boyfriend. I've included a link to like one of the to like somebody saying how they shift, but there's honestly so many videos of this online of people would talk about, "Oh, this is what happened in my dream reality last night," and the other people would go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous." And it's been like 6 years. and people will still insist that they weren't making it up and that it was real.
Oh
It,
God.
yeah,
Right, shall I quickly watch one?
yeah.
So
Just quickly watch one.
let's have a look.
Oh, hang on, I think that first one is a millennial Harry Potter one.
Uh, I know.
Yeah,
Comfy clothes, shower time, self-care.
this video is called "Get
Oh
Ready with
God,
Me to
she's
Shift
turning her
Travel."
lights on with a wand, writing my scripted movie. Oh, it's also cozy core as well. And then watching the movie right before bed, etc. Oh God, my eyes rolled so hard it hurts. I'm sorry, I couldn't do with the music. I've canned it.
Yeah. No, that's so fine. Um, like this is like a minute. Ugh, it's a French video, but I'm not even going to make you play it. But the point is that anyone who doesn't believe me, just look up Shift Talk and you will find hundreds of people far too old for this.
We could
Genuinely
put the
believe.
long one in the show notes,
Yeah,
can't
I'll put
we?
the long one in the show notes. And I just wonder how they're all doing now. I wonder how they feel about Dobby's grave because that's just a little bit different to like millennial Harry Potter adults. I think there's a little bit more something strange underlying it there.
Intensity, maybe.
Intensity, yeah. I think probably for them, it was less about Harry Potter and more about the concept of being in a relationship with a fictional character. I think they probably moved on now. I think they're probably obsessed with like heated rivalry or something.
Yeah. Look, there's nothing wrong with being obsessed with heated rivalry. It's
Oh,
got depth.
sorry.
It's got depth.
Anyway, Joe's going to accuse me of homophobia now on Blue Sky after
I
this.
I don't need to accuse you. You accused yourself. You know what you did. You hate the gays.
And on that note, let's listen to these messages. And we're back. I've sat and had a long, hard think about how my actions have affected the LGBT community. So, very, very
And
sorry.
yet, no sorry.
I, James, I don't want to speak over you, so go on. You just get into it.
Well then, Lucy, let me. I mean, the one thing this segment doesn't actually have is homosexuality. You'll be glad to hear. Let me ask you this: have you ever played the game Love and Deep Space?
No, I haven't, and I'm refusing to read the setup that you put for me in the script. I'm not
I,
playing it right now. I don't know what it is. Please tell
I,
me.
I'm glad. I may have baited Lucy in the script by putting, "Of course I have." I'm playing it right now. Now, a question that you might actually know the answer to: have you ever heard of Otome games? Otome games.
Are they where you have it's like a boyfriend simulator? It's like a
That is
dating.
exactly it. It's
Yes, no, I do. I do know what this is. I don't know what you're about to talk about, but I do know what those types of games are. Yeah.
so Otome is a pretty big gaming genre. They are aimed at Gen Z women, essentially. Overwhelmingly, that's who plays. There's a few older women. There's a very small number of men. But they are essentially sort of romance simulators. Now, when kind of they try and do these games at men, they tend to be very porny. The plot tends to be very minimal. They don't tend to do very well. Men tend to just watch porn. Um, the boyfriend simulators get very, very involved. And Love and Deep Space, it's a free to play game with in app downloads. So it's a mobile first game and it's set in the near future. It's kind of sci-fi. There's a space-time anomaly that opened in 2034 called the Deep Space Tunnel. Hostile sort of creatures started coming from it. Humans had to develop technology to fight them. And you play a young woman who's joined the hunters that are sort of fighting the things that come through this anomaly.
Okay.
So it's all very involved. Um, but mostly it's about sort of dating other hunters, and then there turns out to be a mystery and you're at the center of it, and you're tied to this anomaly. But it largely revolves around the ability to sort of go on dates with five of the casts. And I've prepared for you a slideshow with pictures of the five boyfriends.
Oh my God.
So if you hit the first link.
Yes. Oh, you have prepared a slideshow. That's so sweet.
So
Um,
So do you want to sort of roughly describe just how different these five characters are?
I feel like I'm being baited. So they all basically are the same person with different hair colors or outfits. So like the first guy has got like dark hair, and I think he's maybe like a he has a machine gun. He's surrounded by bullets. He's clearly a bit of a bad boy. The next guy, the same man with white hair, and is inviting you to wear a pair of sunglasses with him.
It's not clear whether or not they're the meta pervert glasses, is it?
No, and I think they should have disclosed that. Third guy, same person, purple hair, kind of looking at you through the window of a restaurant. Fourth guy, okay, he's a bit different. I mean, he's the same person with white hair, but he has got sort of a naval uniform on. Okay.
Slightly whiter skin as well.
Slightly paler, yeah. And then final guy, literally identical to the first one, but he seems to have sort of ice bending powers.
Yeah, it is astonishing how similar the five boyfriends are, right? Like, so just to sort of get through the first one of those was Caleb, the adopted brother figure of the protagonist, who is a colonel in the fast space fleet.
Mhm.
The silver-haired guy giving you pervert glasses is Anichis, who is the leader of a criminal organization who has energy manipulation powers. The third guy is a flamboyant young artist
Mm.
who has fire powers, but has ties to a lost sea civilization. The fourth is the quiet, mysterious one, um,
Mm.
who is a prince from a future world, which is why he's dressed as a sort of steampunk admiral, apparently. And the final one is obviously your childhood friend, who's also a cardiac surgeon with ice powers.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that makes
So
sense. We all got
it's
one, we all have one of them, so
it's a very grounded, realistic cast of five incredibly identical looking dating options. So I have to stress this game is huge.
yeah.
It has grossed in its first year, it grossed more than $500 million. And this
Wow.
isn't like an AAA studio with the global launch and all this sort of Harry Potter stuff behind it. Um, about half its player base is in China. It's a Chinese studio that's developed it. It's playing off a sort of Japanese genre, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is sort of Chinese cultural sort of stuff. And people spend a lot of time on this, and it's got quite some quite strange features for a game. And I've slightly curiosity gapped you with the next link, but I think the URL may
Yeah,
warn
it's
you
giving
what
it
this
away.
is. Um, so do you want to explain what this link is?
Is a period tracker really necessary in an anime game? That's so funny that the concept of there being a period tracker within this game, but I love that the image in the article is like a prompt saying, "Did he get your periods record correct?" Kind of implying that like the boyfriend that you choose would like have that knowledge to hand, and if like they don't know it, then they failed. Am
So
I correct? Yes.
so you are invited to give it some information about your cycle.
Your real cycle.
Your real cycle.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
not your character's cycle. Well, your character's cycle becomes your cycle,
Thank
but
God.
essentially, your game boyfriend will make comments about your menstrual cycle. I don't know if he offers you a tampon or something, but because they'll also like give you a gift on your
Sorry, I
birthday
just
and
love
talk
to.
about things like that, you if you track your periods with this video game, your like virtual boyfriend will comment on your periods.
James, I'd just like to point out that you've kind of very much outed yourself there by implying that a man in a straight relationship would, if his girlfriend was on her period, the first thing he would do was offer her a tampon. Is that what you think that like is that what you
Is
think that
is
you're
that not
supposed
how it
is that
works?
what you think you're supposed to do?
I mean, I don't know what a virtual boyfriend is supposed to do to mark the start of your cycle day. Like, this
This
is what
is
I mean. I
very
wasn't
male.
necessarily suggesting it was realistic.
Well, no, I actually think it's a very insight into the male psyche because one thing that women always say is that men are solution givers when actually a lot of the times women just want them to hear them out and say, "Oh, that really sucks. I hope you're all right." And I think that you have just proven that right there. And
I think yeah, possibly I have, which is odd because like every gay man knows this because the sort of classic thing when a straight man complains about this is like, don't try and fix the problem, just go, yeah, that's bad.
yeah.
Yeah,
But you're like, "Oh, girlfriend on period. Well, have you tried using a tampon?"
well, I just don't know why the virtual boyfriend needs to know this. Like this
Maybe
was sort
maybe
of
there's
where
a
I
whole
was.
okay, right, Loki. There was a thing a few years ago when people were like, don't use the apps like Flow, because they're going to sell all your data to this. Okay, I don't know if this is true or not, total sidebar, but when the US was rolling back abortion rights in a lot of their states, and it started, I actually never verified whether this is true or not, but it started saying that, they could subpoena your cycle tracking records if they suspected you of like going out of state for an abortion. If like you would, they could get that information from these like third party apps like Flow that women were using. So I remember
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a whole thing of like, delete these apps, never use them. You can't trust them because they're going to give your medical data over to the government, which probably they probably would have to give the medical data anyway. Maybe it's possible that people are using this game as the period tracker now because it's the only thing they can trust.
Yeah, and only the Chinese government then has that information. I just want to claim some vindication here. Um, if you're on your period when you set up the tracker, you receive a quote unquote caring message from one of the guys. Conversation varies depending on who ends up on your hub at the time. Some can ask how you're doing, others can provide comfort, while others can be more comedic. But if you scroll, if
Oh,
you still got that article open,
yeah.
uh, go to the message from Amaya Whisper.
Where does it? Am I a
It's
whisper?
big, it's like a big picture.
Um. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Period reminder. Your period is coming soon. Do you have enough supplies? Yeah, I
Vindication!
mean,
Vindication!
how is that medication? That's not saying that women want that.
No, but that's what I suggested the game might do. Didn't say it would be good.
Understand?
I mean,
Yeah.
I literally I put it in our notes as would you like a game with this feature, sort of suggesting that you probably wouldn't. So so
Ah,
so
yeah.
you've got your somewhat intrusive game with no real sense of boundaries. You've
I mean,
got
can I
your
say something so mean? The reason why a lot of women track their periods is so they can try and avoid getting pregnant. I feel like anyone who plays this game probably isn't at any risk of that.
Ooh. So you've got your polycule of five internet boyfriends. So the
Okay.
game recently did an update, and what's
Ooh,
better than five internet boyfriends?
six.
Six. And so they introduced Valco, and
Oh my God, I've just seen the picture.
who looks slightly different
He
from the
does.
other.
I think he's better looking than the other ones.
So
Like I
so
haven't
how,
seen him.
how would you describe Valco?
He kind of looks a little bit more, I would say, rugged. I think the other ones are a bit pretty. Valko
Yeah,
looks a little bit more chiseled and masculine. And
yeah.
he has
Although
purple.
it still looks like he's wearing coal, doesn't he? I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's not particularly threatening. So Valco is a werewolf because, of course, he is.
Okay.
Um, but Valco, like the what's the post that I've linked to you?
It's a picture of his face. Window entry, heart invasion. I think implying that the way that he tries to woo you is by like doing a home invasion through your window.
Yeah, so it's I don't
Brilliant.
think Valco climbing through the window is romantic. And essentially quite a lot of the Chinese player base of the game. He sort of comes in your window at night to talk to you and to like admit being a werewolf kind of thing. And they decided that that's problematic.
Oh.
And so
Oh my God.
they essentially sort of said this, this shouldn't happen. You don't want a man in your room at night when you didn't want it. You sort of I know it's fiction, but this isn't the sort of behavior that should be modeled in a romance game. Um, and so fandoms, of course, always react proportionally and reasonably when things happen. And so have a look at the next link, and I think
Breaking. Oh.
yeah, read the first two parts.
Breaking. Love and Deep Space is in major trouble. Millions of players have unfollowed them across social media. Millions of negative comments have been left across their videos. Chinese players have also sent cow dung, funeral chrysanthemums, curse banners, and ritual items to the developer's office as the Love and Deep Space controversy escalates to all new heights. Brilliant.
So there
No
may have
notes.
been a little bit more to this than it seemed. The game hadn't been as updated as frequently in recent months as it had been before that. And it meant that the existing five boyfriends hadn't had much new content. So the relationship with the existing boyfriends was going a bit stale. And when people saw a new boyfriend, when they'd sort of formed these emotional attachments to the existing ones, they were like, well, you're going to write content for him, but not for the existing ones. And
Wow.
so some of it was reaction against that. But it meant that the new character that they thought would be welcomed and would refresh the game got this very bad reaction, and they sort of tried to make it a morality issue. And the Chinese government intervenes on issues of public morality in games and can often ban them, and it can take months for games to resurface, etc. And so, sad news for Valko, the best looking apparently of the boyfriends. And I have to say, Valko looks quite hot in this picture as well,
Yeah, I
right?
was gonna say he's got like he's ripped.
He's got good
Got
arms,
good
right?
arms.
So, like, you know,
Maybe we should play this game. Maybe we should get rid of the podcast and we should just like do a playthrough of this game.
um, and so R.I.P. Valko.
Oh
He
my God.
has he
I
has been cancelled.
already know what the next stage of this is going to be.
So yes. So not only though did they cancel Valko, they promised to never introduce any new boyfriends to this game. Like the polycule is closed. There will be five internet boyfriends in Love and Deep Space. There will never
And
be a
no, not
sixth.
one more.
Yeah,
I love the
Poochie died on the way back to his home planet.
I love the next link. I'm
Yeah.
they killed my virtual boyfriend and there are 251,000 widows. Honestly, I feel like we've planned this like fairly well because I did not know that you were going to do this. And then when in the previous segment I was talking about people having fictional boyfriend characters, I had no idea that this was going to be the next one.
And I was just sitting delighted, knowing what I had coming.
This feels like I feel like we've had this conversation about 10 times. Like I feel like we've done that like the AI boyfriends one is really similar. Like it's almost exactly the same as when people had ChatGPT or like Claude pretend to be their boyfriend and then when the models would update, they would lose all their chat history and people would go on Reddit and be like, I'm a widow. They killed my husband. They killed my fiance. And like I don't actually know which is worse, doing it about a video game character or doing it about a chatbot. I feel like they have different levels of
I mean,
underlying
at
issue.
least the video game character's been written by someone to
Yeah,
sort
at
of
least
be
there's.
there's sort of some artisanal stuff involved. Now I have to say this photo of Alco, he looks a lot more like a soft boy, like the other sort of
I'm done with
ones.
talking about Valko. I think we've just talked about
But
Valko.
but well, I think the key thing here is I'm boycotting Love and Deep Space for killing my virtual boyfriend, and so are 251,000 other loyal widows.
Widows.
So there was a big petition. But where I think this look, I find this drama very funny. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that there's a genre of game I imagine most listeners haven't heard of that is doing revenue alongside like AAA top gaming titles. You know, and the way that we think of gaming as something that happens on consoles and that is sort of male dominated mostly happens on mobile. Most gamers now are women. It's a lot
Yep.
more of things like this or puzzle games. But there's a particularly interesting bit to this one, and I'm interested in your thoughts here because there is a big divide between the Chinese player base and the international
Hmm.
player base. And the international player base liked Valco by and large. Like outside of
Interesting.
China, Valco was not particularly seen as problematic. And so there's quite a strong cultural divide. And I think there's some resentment that essentially the Chinese players, who
Got
are the
what
single
they
dominant country for this game, are there. And I think it's interesting. You're seeing Chinese culture start to break through. You're seeing Chinese companies start to break through. You know,
Hmm.
TikTok, the only sort of social network that isn't American controlled, is China controlled. Um, there is a slow sort of rivalry to America's total cultural dominance of the internet. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting seeing some Chinese social norms actually get imposed on the rest of the world. There's the seeds of something here. This is the very early kind of pebbles of hurt, in the same way American cultural values get imposed on us by the internet and by, sitcoms, etc. This feels like the start of Chinese cultural values coming on us. So,
That is
see, it
so
was coming to a point.
That is very interesting. I think because obviously one thing that people sort of colloquially say is a big difference between Western culture and I suppose East Asian culture is there is a lot more of an emphasis on like respect, and adhering to more structured social norms about politeness and about, yeah, I suppose what is done in certain situations rather than there being a more fluid um societal expectation on like friendships, relationships, co-worker interactions even in the West. Like in the East, there seems to be a lot more of a structured hierarchy, respect culture. And that is quite interesting that I feel like, yeah, as you say, the fact that so many Chinese players were like, I think it's really wrong that this person has broken into your house and is like, sitting in your bedroom when you didn't ask him to, which is like objectively true. They're not wrong.
I
But
mean, you shouldn't
you
date
shouldn't do that.
IRL someone who does that.
But it is interesting how in that culture it's perhaps like such a deviation from the norm of like how you would usually act that they don't even want to entertain it in like a hypothetical way. Like for example, a lot of this is a separate point I was going to make before when you said something about this is a game not many people might have heard of, but it's doing very well, and women are actually the majority of gamers now. Similar thing happening with books. Again, this is something we've talked about before. Women are by far the majority of fiction readers now. Like it's not even close. And a lot of what they read is romance, various different types of romance novel. And a lot of these have plots that are quite interesting. Like a very popular genre is like you've been kidnapped and sold to the mafia. And now you have a mafia husband and you have to fall in love with him whether you like it or not, like a sort of Beauty and the Beast type thing.
Yep, good old book
Um,
talk.
yeah. And it's like, this sort of, oh, a werewolf has broken into your house without your consent and you're going to have to just deal with it, is a concept that would go down fairly well in a lot of swathes of
Yeah.
like Western book talk, Western, I don't know, Ochime game talk. But like, I think you're right. That is really interesting that a cultural norm over there of just someone going like, no, that's really weird, has actually forced change and actually impacted the product that is being sold worldwide. And yeah, I mean, I'm writing a piece at the moment about Generation G, about how the cultural influence of China is beginning to seep into Gen Z and their understandings of geopolitics, their opinions on the Far East. And yeah, I'm not saying that they're linked necessarily, but I think you're absolutely right in that we are on the crest of Chinese culture being seen as much more of a norm than it would have been 5, 10, 20 years ago. And yeah, American
Yeah.
companies are just gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking
There's
forward
a
to reading
billion
that
of
piece.
them.
But
Yeah.
yeah, see, have faith in Touching Grass. We get you to the serious issues. We just get you there via the scenic route.
Yeah.
And, before Lucy wraps the episode, I would just like to dedicate this very special episode to the memory of Dobby and the
And
memory of
Valko.
Dobby and of Valko together, finally together in heaven. R.I.P.
Heaven. You did see Dobby's tweets. You didn't see all of his head.
Okay, to Dobby and Valko finally together in hell.
Very good. Now, as many of you might be very happy to hear, unfortunately, we have no show next week. But don't worry, you can go back and listen to all of the other episodes of Touching Grass on Spotify, on Apple, on Substack, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're going to have withdrawals, or maybe perhaps it'd be good to have a detox after the conversation we've just had, but fear not, we are still here in the ether. You can, if you pretend that me and James are your friends, we're not gone for long. James, where else can people keep up with the new world?
Yes, well, while Touching Grass is touching grass, the New World magazine will still be publishing at thenewworld.co.uk or the New World on your social networks of choice, or you can keep up with me on Blue Sky at jamesrball.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you the week after next.